What's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining us again. We're live, and this one is fully loaded. We're talking swift justice. Kicking it off with the recent Georgia shooting. And honestly, I'm very excited to open up that can of worms because I think we might actually be approaching a solve for this school shooting pandemic that has been plaguing our nation for a couple decades now. So we might be turning a corner, and I'm excited for that story. Secondly, P-Diddy, the Diddler, finally arrested. They took him to the federal grand jury, and he was indicted. And we're going to be going down that path. Again, swift justice. And then finally, Donald Trump faces a second assassination attempt on the golf course. And this time we got the cat alive and in custody. So for now, until he suicides himself. But that's for a later date. With all that being said, I can't do it without my good friend and my co-host, David Cunningham.
Oh, I'm locked and loaded here for today's show because we're pretty armed to the teeth when it comes to opinions on this one. And you know who's packing right now? Doug.
Oh, Dougie.
What
at
about
the helm
me?
today?
Yeah.
By the way, Alex, did you see that? Did you get an email today about Seymour?
There's an email?
Oh, here, I'll send it to you. I think you'll find it hilarious.
Hilarious.
All right, just sent it to you.
Okay. Okay. Dear Rethink Tank team, greetings from the deep blue. We, the Dolphin Liberation Front, have taken your beloved studio producer, Brian, for a swim on our oceanic paradise. We promise he's in no immediate danger. He's just enjoying an all-you-can-eat buffet of seaweed and krill. Classic. Here's the deal. We have 4 demands. Aquatic entertainment. We demand a month's supply of the finest underwater-themed entertainment. Think bubble shows, synchronized swimming performances, and a giant inflatable sea creature. Make sure it's top-notch. Our fins are tapping in anticipation. Secondly, marine music. A playlist of the most soothing underwater tunes. Sea shanties, whale songs, and maybe a little dolphin jazz would be perfect. Bonus points if you could throw in some catchy tunes for us to dance to.
Dude, I got one actually we can add. Ark of the Diver, Steve Winwood. I wonder if they'd dig that. It's like a really good song, good beat. It's about diving. I don't know.
Maybe some seal music.
Some seal.
3, Sea Snack Feast. An assortment of ocean-friendly snacks delivered to our secret lagoon. We're talking seaweed chips, clam chowder, and a few dozen sea cucumber cocktails. Don't skimp on the sea salt. And we'll also take a couple Big Macs. Interesting.
I would also assume they want some dolphin-safe tuna, right?
Doug, don't sweeten the pot for them. These are their demands. We're dealing with terrorists. We're negotiating with terrorists here. Dolphins. 4, and their final demand, ocean conservation, a donation in our name to a marine conservation charity. We care deeply about our ocean home, and this would make us very happy indeed. Okay, concluding this ransom note. Deliver these items to the coordinates attached. Failure to comply will result in a mild but persistent case of seasickness for your producer, Brian. He may find himself more accustomed to dolphins than humans. Remember, we're not fishy, just a bunch of playful dolphins who enjoy a good laugh. So don't keep us waiting too long. Sincerely, the Dolphin Liberation Front. P.S. If you try to double-cross us, we'll flood the studio with bubble-blowing fish. Consider yourselves warned.
Ooh.
I don't think Brian's coming back because I don't negotiate with terrorists. So I think that's it for Brian. I guess we'll continue these negotiations with the Dolphins. But for now, Doug, get comfortable in that seat. Before we dive into the last bit here, we've got the Pickle Gallery. Let's bring in the boys here. Ricky and Silent Destroyer, how you guys doing today?
Doing great. How are you? We outside. We're outside, bro. You feel me?
Ricky, we gotta get you outside more.
Bro, we popping collars, bro. We outside.
I love that we all got the vibe. Click it to David, too.
Yeah, we're
We're
all
very
coloring up.
vacation-y, you
There
know.
we
And then
That's
you got
right.
me repping Cleveland Browns. Woo.
Sad.
Which is
Poor
all
Doug.
right.
Poor Doug in the heartbreak.
Only thing we're missing right now is a nice glass of like good bourbon and a cigar, Cuban.
You know,
what I mean?
now that you say that, I do have to acknowledge
Oh.
my bourbon glass today was a housewarming gift for me that says bulletproof Trump. And it's got a little, little bullet in the side of it. It's only the fanciest for
shit.
today. Now, there is the incentive to hang on for the entirety of today's episode. That being because this is extremely dense. Like the last time when we talked about, ironically, the first assassination, there is a lot to pry apart here. And we've done a good job of correlating and coordinating all of these different clips and content for you. So it's going to be very dense. But with that all being said, let's not waste another moment.
Nope.
Diving
to it.
right into the first topic today, I think we may have uncovered a solve to the issues of school shootings. Today, or this past week, we have had the arraignment of the Georgia school shooter who is, I believe, like 17, and he's being tried, 15, and he's being tried as an adult. Or sorry, no, that's the Michigan shooter. Like I said, I think he was 17. No, Colt Gray, 14. So this kid's 14 years old, being tried as an adult, but also the father is being tried. So let's first take a look here. This is Colin Gray, his 54-year-old father, being brought in the courtroom right after Colt was arraigned.
Please. Good morning, sir. Are you Mr. Colin Gray? Am I pronouncing your first name correctly? Mr. Gray, my name's Curry Mingledorf. I'm assigned to preside over the
Mingledorf.
Mingledorf.
Man, I don't want to be that guy, but imagine going your whole legal career and all rise for the Mingledorf.
Hearing. And at this hearing, I'm first gonna ask you just a few
He does his own
questions, and then
practice.
I'm gonna advise you of your
Mingledorf's
rights
at law.
Also let you know about a preliminary hearing that's been scheduled for you. Why don't you just state your name, please? All right, pull the microphone down, please. There you go. All right, and how old are you, Mr. Gray?
54.
Oh, sad, man.
Understanding
Damn.
the language without any difficulty?
Yes, sir.
How far did you go in school?
11th grade GED.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
And I note that you have counsel seated with you at the table. You understand that you have the right to be represented by an attorney at all times for this and all future proceedings in your case?
Yes, sir.
And do you understand that, of course, if you cannot afford an attorney, that the public defender...
All right, so this is pretty dense, and we'll let it kind of roll here as we parse it apart. But he was booked for jail, and amongst it is co-conspiracy, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and negligence, manslaughter. So here's the deal. I love this. To me, this is a pretty big. This is a new beginning, and it actually isn't starting with this case. There's a precedent already laid out. I don't know if you guys recall, there was a shooting in Michigan, and the shooter Ethan Crumbley's parents were sentenced to 10 years just this past 2022. So this is setting a precedent to where you can be held accountable for the actions of your kid, which is the case, right? Like, we just did a bit where all the little kid did was break an art piece and it cost the family $100,000. Okay, I would like to believe that some other community member's child is worth more than that art piece. And yet, for some reason, only in these murder instances do we only hold the child accountable.
Yeah.
We have an acceptance and like this kind of innate understanding that the parents are responsible for whatever the kids do. And here's what I'll say. Fully flushing out my argument, I will be the first to concede that there is the genetic anomaly of a Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer himself isn't a good example, as most people would pry on him, because he actually was abused as a kid. So also not the best example, but there are this. What's the pretty guy that killed all the ladies across the country?
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy.
Yeah,
Bingo. Okay,
yeah.
so somebody like Ted Bundy, who had a great life with his, yes, there are genetic anomalies where less than 1% of people, which again, in a tribe of 7.5 billion, even less than 1% is millions of them, folks. But there's millions of these genetic anomalies that have psychopathic tendencies, that have removed them from their emotions and make them unfit to assimilate in a society. That is a bad draw of the lottery. And in a world where there's a perfect set of parents that give all of their attention and try their best in breeding a standard into a Ted Bundy, and that Ted Bundy then goes on to be Ted Bundy, I guess that's what you get when you play the lottery, right? You played the lottery of having children. And 80% of the time, you're going to have a healthy baby that can have potential in our society. And there's going to be times where your kid is born with a deformity that has them ill and stricken to death at age 7, right? That's also a terrible roll of the lottery. But for the sake of a society, right? The community of 7.5 billion, or maybe just 350 million, stay within America. If you have 350 million people that need to coexist and live amongst each other, I think it's best to set a precedent that you need to be hyper invested in this child, or you will be totally accountable for whatever comes of them, regardless of how invested you are. So I guess, damn, you're really invested in making sure this works out. Or you might be like Colin Gray, and whether you're Aaron Hernandez's dad who slams their kid's head on the counter, or you're just some drunk who neglects their kid, and while you didn't abuse them, the neglect itself and lack of standards has created a menace for society, that's also your responsibility. This kind of toes the line of a lot of the themes you find in this pro-life, pro-choice debate. I'm one to say, let people choose their choose. My mom worked at Planned Parenthood. The sick part is the white ladies in the street that are fighting for abortions they'll never have, they may have one, and it'll carry with them for the rest of their life. It is a tragedy. Go be one of the people that works at a Planned Parenthood, and those people see the harshest reality, where it is like flushing a toilet. It's the same folks coming in every month, and maybe that negligence, that type of spirit where it's just like, I have another baby, I'll get more money from the government, or I have another baby, oopsie, I had a silly night, and then you end up doing it 3 times, and you're sitting here, a single parent, you're just like, oh my God, I'm left. Somebody carry me to the finish line.
3 times with 3 baby daddies.
But that's the spirit of the mentality here. And I'm not trying to be like projecting any sort of stereotype. The guy we're talking about is a white father. I want to hyper emphasize he's the fuck up to neglect his kid, whether it's and part of it is child abuse. One of the charges is child abuse. So whether they're uncovering instances of you abusing this kid, which causes him to act in a certain way, or your lack of oversight and intervention is why he acts a certain way, we need to draw the line. Acting this type of way, nowhere near acceptable in our society. And now it's gotten to such a degree, it's so unacceptable that if you are the agent, caretaker, responsible for the child, we are making you hyper invested in making sure he doesn't cross that line. He or she doesn't cross. Because a lot of them have been doing it too. But you are now hyper invested in whatever it is doesn't do it, or else you're going down with them. Is that too much to ask in a shared society? What do we think?
No, it's not too much to ask in a civilized society, but you have badass kids out here, bro. Like, no matter how good of a parent you are, you have some rebels out here. What are you supposed to do? Lock them in the basement with shackles? Then you're just still gonna be charged with child abuse. You like, I guess you can send them to like military boarding school or something like that, but like, there's just some people that comes out the womb evil.
I agree.
Also,
but then you gotta
that
be
dad,
careful.
that's
Like,
true. But you can
this
put
to
all
me
the work in,
also-
Alex,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
and they still be a fuck up. Like, you can
I
put
agree.
all. And
Well, I think there's a very strict difference between a fuck up and a school shooter. Those are two very different.
Yeah. Also,
he's still a fuck up.
There's a
He's still
canyon
a fuck
between the
up.
two. This
Still a
isn't
fuck
a
up,
Kia
yeah.
boy.
Yeah, this
this-
isn't like stealing a Kia.
No,
right.
this is a whole
Oh, man.
heinous crime.
Okay.
that you're put on.
So, but you say, all right, you say it's not the Kia, but the Kia boy is going to start off from the car. Then next time he's going to get a gun and rob them instead of going at night when no one is in the car. Then he's going to come back out and probably
See,
shoot somebody. Like,
I
it
disagree.
escalates.
Because the school shooters, their tendency, their pattern shows this is like their first violent act.
Yeah.
Like, I'll admit, the Georgia shooter who we're talking about, they actually were turned on to his transgressions like a month ahead of time. The police stopped at their house, walked up and approached the dad, and they obviously had some telltale signs, but
Facts.
him lashing out at teachers, him using abusive language, that isn't him, I don't know, robbing the supermarket.
No, there's the pattern of behavior between like a gangbanger and like a school shooter are very different. And school shooter, like the gangbangers usually have a community of individuals that they go with. They're in gangs. They're not very often are they just doing these by themselves. They're usually with a group. School shooters are almost always secluded, alone. There's a certain pattern. They're tipped off. How many times do we hear this? We're tipped off by the FBI. There's somebody somewhere that's like concerned and threw in calls way before the event even happens, and then they still do the event. I agree with you. I think there is a certain point where you need to, if you can't control your child 100% of the time under every circumstance, but you at least have to try. You can't just go, well, he's a lost cause, and whatever happens.
Yeah, and you can't buy
Yeah,
them
you gotta be able to
M4.
do
You can't buy them a
something.
rifle for Christmas either. With this
Yeah.
bad behavior, so I understand why the dad is getting charged. Like,
See, Ricky,
you buy.
that's what kills me too. There is millions of Americans that have a rifle, and we're talking about less than 1% of them that does this. And so when you say, okay, we wouldn't think buying a Red Ryder BB gun is that outrageous, but we would say buying a rifle is. But also there are people that are getting that rifle, whether for Christmas or just for themselves on a Tuesday, and it's sitting under their bed. It hasn't even gone to a range. It's just sitting there just in case some Haitians are hungry for a cat.
Come on now, no. There's no reports of the Haitians eating the cat. but a fire song came out of it.
Yeah, where's this
Like,
money
we're
coming from?
losing them all.
But Alex, I understand why he got charged because
Too soon.
there was reports of your son acting up. Like, there's indications of them doing it. You didn't take away the gun, lock it away, sell it, nothing. You just still let him, oh, my son is good. I trust in him. Now that's just ignorant. And the law don't see ignorance. So he deserves what you getting.
All right, Ricky, I want to try to sell you on this.
Okay.
If you were going to be sitting in the chair, the leader's position of power, okay? And I'm sorry, we could bore ourselves for hundreds of hours. We're talking years going down what's the best moral approach of being a leader, right? Philosophers have broken that down forever. I will not say what I think is the best. One that has significantly resonated with me is utilitarianism. Everybody says the greatest good for the greatest number of people. That's it at its easiest sense boiled down. John Locke's true utilitarianism is maximizing happiness for the most amount of people. And so that is the initial goal. Now, if people find happiness in dark things, well, that's when the philosophical theory starts coming down into, it's worth exercising and breaking apart, right? But at its surface, you want to try to maximize goodness, happiness, opportunity, fruitfulness for your community as much as possible, regardless of race, creed, background, everything, right? That's the goal. And okay, so now you're sitting in that chair. That's your goal. That's what you need to achieve for your people. I want you to resonate with these numbers that the human brain are too small to truly comprehend. 7.5 billion. 200 times more than what we're messing with, which is 350 million. Okay, still too big of a number for us to truly comprehend. But in a world of 350 million, 12 of them are these psychopaths. I'll even give you 100.
Yeah.
Let's say 200 of them have this capacity, and 20 to 50 of them somehow get that triggered and act on it. Okay, so you need to try to come up with a system that protects 350 million people at the danger of 50 or 100. And those 50 or 100 aren't coming all at you at once. They're coming across a decade. You're going to get one every couple months. And so now, as a policymaker that needs to try to come up with the best solution to this problem, which the solution is never, it's unachievable to collect all the guns. You would only collect all the guns from the people who listen to rules. And you're trying to apply rules on the rule breakers. So the whole gun conversation is moot. You're a moron. So when the think tankers that are sitting here trying to parse apart what could be that policy. If I could say out of 350 million people, 170 million couples that have kids, let's say 100 million couples who have kids. If out of 100 million couples, 50 of them fail at this and go to jail. However, the creation of a policy that makes the drunk mechanic that just drags his ass to work and drags his ass home to drown himself, the abusive father, the neglectful parent, the neglectful mother, whoever it is, if the result of your poor parenting, and again, I will acknowledge, out of the womb, you've got a kid that is rambunctious. Guess what that requires? More attention than the kid that comes out not rambunctious, which means you either rise to the responsibility and here's the other deal, dude, because again, we're talking about 50 out of 350 million or maybe even 100 million families. But if we're talking about 50, and I want to show that I have a heart and a mind to this issue Ricky sees in my policy, I could even propose, and it's a damnable one at that. But the solution I would suggest to the shitty parent, or even maybe the mediocre parent trying their best to make the rambunctious bad kid work, your get out of jail free card is a hotline that sells your kid out to the state and we'll come get them. So that's pretty despicable.
But if they fuck up, they're selling to the state either way.
Exactly. But we'll create programs. They'll just be institutions.
But there are programs.
What?
There are programs for badass kids. Like there are boot camps for kids.
But instead of juvie, I will make a rehabilitation institution that takes the 100 to with this. Here's the sad part, because parents are so shitty, they'll overcall, right? So that number, that figure I'm messing with, the 50 to 100 Ted Bundys, you're going to have 1,000 shitty parents calling in 1,000 kids, right?
Yeah.
Where they're like, my kid's shit. It's not that the kid's actually a problem. It's just that the parent sucks and wants to get rid of the
it's not either the kid isn't that much of a problem. So we want to focus this really on the ones that are really going to hurt someone without remorse and do it in such a vengeful way. This isn't, I think we all want to be clear. This isn't the kid who's stealing stuff. This isn't the kid who's, maybe pointing a gun at someone stealing a car. This is someone out like planning, and
this is the 0.00001%.
The exceptional minority.
Because again,
crimes.
Ricky, let's say your kid is that rambunctious, misbehaving kid. If he
also-
goes out in the street and hits a kid, the parent is still responsible to a certain degree.
Hell yeah. I hit someone with a car. My parent was responsible for it. I had to go through the consequences. I had to go to court.
So you make sure your kid isn't a school shooter, whether that means not getting them a gun for Christmas because he's on the edge, or locking guns up when the police come knocking at your door. Now you've got the incentive, because you'll be like those Michigan parents going away for 10 years, or this asshole who should go away for life. He'll at least get 10 years. I imagine maybe 20.
They deserve to.
Dude, with 5 dead kids, that is the least that could happen from this situation.
Exactly. Because there are indicators, and if you're ignorant to negate what you see and people are telling you outside of your home, telling you that they ain't got no forms with your kids, just trying to see the best for your kids, and they're coming to you and be like, yo, they're going down the wrong path, and you ignore it, you deserve to be punished by a full extent of the law. There's no ifs or buts about that. And I don't feel like the good should suffer for the 0.1% of the bad. Like,
but you think that would be the outcome? Because again, so here's the real question. Let me flush out my policy to the fullest. The last contention I would have for you. I want to take every school shooter we've dealt with to this point, right? So all the way back to Columbine up until this point, we've got a handful, right? 25, 50?
There's probably
not even.
Let's say 100. Let's
being so stupid generous, but I'll give you that. Yeah. Let's say 100. So Ricky, out of the 100 Columbine, Chardon, Pickett, all of them, I got to ask you, do you think would you call the criminal justice system a failure? And would you hold the position that we failed to deliver a safe society if all of the parents in all 100 cases were in jail? Do you think any... So there's my point. It's not going to be 200,000 parents go to jail. It's going to be all of the people we've seen up until this point, maybe 100, their parents go to jail. And I'll say you, maybe there's a couple Sharons in there that aren't too bad. But guess what? Sharon should have worked just a damn bit harder to make sure her kid didn't snap in school.
Well, that's also the beauty of the legal system too, is you're not guilty until proven innocent. You're innocent until proven guilty. So they can charge the crime. And if you can back it up with, hey, we tried everything under the sun, every program, and he still just went out and did it. Okay. Is that parent liable? Probably not. But I think there's a majority, if not almost all of these parents are in probably more than liable enough to be held responsible for that child's actions, especially if we have to go underneath if we have to we're going to try them as an adult. Because all these kids are being tried as an adult. If we have to take your underage child to try him as an adult, I think the parent needs to be responsible to a certain extent.
Well, that all being said, before we dive into wrapping thoughts, I want to dive into a video here. Volusia County Sheriff, that's in Florida, Mike Chitwood, had some stern words for the community after an incident here in Florida.
Absolutely out of control, and it ends now. 54 and counting tips came into Fortify, Florida last night, okay? That means investigators in the school district have been running around the clock to investigate these tips, which are all turning out to be false. So far, it's cost $21,000 to do these investigations. We have 2 in custody. We have an investigation looking at 1 other individual. So far this year, there have been 207 threats who have come in. We've arrested 7 people for written threats to kill. One student, if you remember, tried to bring a loaded firearm into a Mainland football game. We've had 11 weapons on our campuses this year. So what we're going to start doing Monday is, since parents, you don't want to raise your kids, I'm going to start raising them. Every time we make an arrest, your kid's photo is going to be put out there. And if I could do it, I'm going to perp walk your kid so that everybody can see what your kid's up to. The second point of this is,
That's
if I can
damn
in any
right.
way find out that a parent knew what was going on and wasn't doing anything, your is getting perp walked with him. The purpose of Fortify Florida is to send in tips that we're going to investigate because you believe something is going to happen. To keep sending in these tips over and over and over again and think it's a big joke and nothing's going to happen to it. Starting Monday, we're going to have a billboard. We're going to have a poster out. I'm going to show you every kid that's been arrested.
I love
and
this.
where they go to school. And then from there on out, we're going to publicly shame them and their parents. So parents, do your job. Don't let Sheriff Chitwood raise your kids. This is absolutely ridiculous. Go talk to the families who have lost a loved one in a school shooting. These little knuckleheads think it's funny. Go talk to those parents and see how funny this is. It's not. We're going to come and get you, and we're going to put you out for public embarrassment. And I know of a set of parents right now that they're looking at $11,000 each because somebody's paying this bill.
So they've got a hotline where kids can call in for tips on, potential issues. And the kids are prank calling it, bombarding it, making fools of it. And guess what? Like Nalat said, bring it back. We got the perp walk, baby. He's already got one. Sheriff Chitwood ain't messing around. But I love this. This is the greatest thing ever. And, for the sake of them, we're not going to show their face. Yeah, blurred out. But make them deal with the ramifications. If the parents won't deliver accountability, if you won't parent your kid, then guess what? You're going to force the hand of the state to step in and do it for you. I don't
Takes
know.
a village, right?
Let's get to the wrapping thoughts. Silent, what do you think?
Takes a village to raise a kid. That's what I'm saying. Like there needs to be much more participation on everybody's end, not just the parents, right? Like if I have a shitty kid, it doesn't mean that I just give up, right? I need to work with him. Maybe I need to get my uncle or my neighbor to talk to my kid, or maybe like the priest at the church, or anybody to talk to my kid, and try to understand, because a lot of what these kids do, and the reason why they do what they do, it's because they're misunderstood. They're kind of like their own worst enemies in their own heads. And then they just like let that boil for so long, and then they just, explode and end up doing horrible things. And I think the issue is a lot of these kids just don't have like good parents. They just don't, to show them and guide them like, okay, this is fine. You feel this way, but you need to do this. You need to let it out like this. If you have this sort of anger, there's healthy ways that we can let it out, and then there's unhealthy ways that we can let it out. Like there needs to be some sort of guidance, right? Like whether it's your guidance counselor at school, your neighbor, your uncle, someone older, maybe someone like a couple of years older than you in the same school, maybe like a teacher, anybody that you can like, sort of talk to. And I think that's a big reason a lot of these kids struggle with this, is that they don't understand that all they have to do in a lot of cases is just ask for the help, and they probably will get it. Because most school programs, at least my school, from what I remember, there was always like all sorts of help, whether you were struggling like with physical issues, mental issues, like schoolwork issues, like shit. There was even people that will help you do your homework if you want to, like there was an after school program where they would sit people down. If you were struggling with your homework alone, you would come in after school, and there's people there that can help you with your homework, and that's what I mean. Like, I think a combination of holding their parents accountable, because this is 100% their fault. If your kid goes on a school shooting, it is the parents' fault for sure, because it is your duty as a parent to make sure that this does not happen. Very simple, plain and simple. Like there's no ifs, there's no buts, there's no overcomplicating this. If your kid is a school shooter, that's on you. You should know what your kid is up to. If they're living under your roof, you should know exactly who they're with, exactly what they're up to, what time they leave, what time they come back. Like it is your job as a parent. Otherwise, don't have kids. Very simple.
I love that. Let me ask you something, Silent. I like your point. You're raising how there's all of these resources and utilities available for asking for help. Like there help's available. You just got to ask. The problem we're dealing with is these are the people with broken coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
They don't know how to cope. They don't know how to deal with their feelings, issues, everything. In 90% of the scenarios, we were taught, ask for help. Well, these are the people who asked the most trusting authorities around them, their parents, grandparents, whoever, and were resulting in these types of behavioral issues because these are the personalities that asked for help and it was cut, it was denied, it was shut down, it was met with backlash and pain. So that coping mechanism in everyone else that would naturally ask for help because it's just around you. It's kind of like somebody that had lungs and was beaten into gills, and you're like, just breathe. You're surrounded by air. And it's like they actually don't even have that ability anymore. I love Ricky. Ricky, do you have any rapid thoughts?
It goes to what Silence said, man. It does take a village to raise a kid, but it goes to the parent as well, especially nowadays parent that I see. They don't want no one to tell them anything about their kid doing wrong or bad. They don't take the information from the outside. They're like, no, my kid is perfect. Every time I see, yes, your kid is perfect around you. You're the parent. You're the discipline. You know what I mean? When they go out here, they be wild. And if you don't take in that information from the outside source, you're just digging a hole for yourself financially, emotionally, and you might not have grandkids because he might go out here and do the wrong thing and get popped. Like, as parents, it does take a village. You have to listen to other people, and you don't have to be hard on your kid, but you have to not be their friend as well. There's a balance, and I'm not a parent, so I don't fucking know. This is what the cliche you always hear. Don't be your kid's friend, but you also have to be strict on your kids. Like, when I grew up in Brecksville, nobody was really hard on their kids. I was getting ass whooping, but nobody was getting ass whooping. But everybody came out fine, if that makes sense. I came out fine, but it is just different ways to go about it. But you also have to pour in love and make sure they know they are loved. They have a future, and I feel like everything will work out.
No, I could appreciate that point. For my wrapping thought, Silent makes me reflect on, here's a Canadian resident looking at, like, there's resources everywhere.
That's what I said.
And it's so funny because I'm sitting here and it's like we Americans have the most school shootings. And what's the common national or international narrative? They've got all those unfettered guns just floating around there, them gun-tooting Americans, and then this is what they get. But, why don't Canadians have this problem? Why don't Italians have this problem? Yes, there's places like China and Russia that you're not allowed to leave your house without a curfew or a hall pass, and you're never going to have a gun. So that's why they don't have that problem. But somebody like Italy, don't you just recognize that, like, this is a newer phenomena and it's a more regional phenomena, mainly because we are the country with the most broken homes? Like, notice this wasn't a problem when our focus was a nuclear family, a two-parent household that focused and cared about their kids. The more we've evolved and manipulated that standard and broken it from the true path, yes, divorced parents can raise a kid, but the more and more divorced parents raising kids, the more and more some of those kids are not going to have as much of a fruitful experience as the kids that are having a totally whole two-parent household. The single parents, it's just the theme of America is this trend also very much matches the breaking of the American homestead. And I also want to piggyback off of Ricky's point. Like, I love the point of how parents have been safe in walling themselves off from the feedback around them. teachers can't even parent and teach kids anymore. Like, if you're going to hand your kid off for 8 hours a day to some teacher who's trying to make them sit down and focus at an age where that's literally impossible, the least you can do is give them the ability and authority to police standards into them. So when your kid cheats and the teacher comes down on them, and then they come home and cry to you, and then you gum and bitch at the teacher, and they get off scot-free, what feedback loop have you inbred into this kid? Bad behavior, mom yells at the teacher, I get out. And that's the cycle. Yeah. So now you've bred something dangerous into your kid, but then you've also crippled and stifled the system that kind of fills the void when you're not there. Well, now it can't even do that. So now this is like Peter Pan world. You've got, for 8 hours a day, the lost boys out here policing themselves because the parents are going to yell at the teacher and defend their ability to not have to be scolded or disciplined. And then we wonder why, the inmates are running the asylum. So I love this. I think I've fully flushed out the social argument that I truly believe this is the beginning of a solve, at least for the American problem, because as I highlight, this isn't really that much of an international problem. So as something so intimate here with a tool or, with an item that will never be taken out of our society, accept that and internalize that. So at that point, we need to figure out ways to make this work the best. I think I may have presented it, which is the beginning of this, which is sentencing parents for
Alex, can I say this real quick?
Please?
The thing is, the world don't have the access to gun as Americans, but around the world, there are mass stabbings in schools. Kids are bringing knives to schools and stabbing up their classmates, bro. It's a problem in the world, okay? We just have more heavy duty here in America, but it's a world problem. There's broken homes all over the world. I just hate when people focus. It's just like,
I'm sure it's happened. I don't think it's like
but I don't think
epidemic.
There's maybe a handful of countries that have the institutionalization of primary education like the United States do, where other countries, there's probably, there probably really isn't a school structure for the majority of the population. Most especially countries, maybe like second or even third world countries, that there really isn't a school. There might be something we do during the day, but there isn't the same type of K through 12 that we're doing here. And I think some of that can breed some of that style of poverty could probably breed into, this is how we solve our problems, because they're not just broken homes or broken societies, and it isn't a great place to be. But I think there's a few countries in the world that have the same access to firearms as we do. I think Sweden it primarily is one of them, and we don't see the same thing with them, because I think a lot of our issues is just the popular way of causing harm. It's just we publicize it so much to the point where it just starts entrenching into an idea in someone who wants to be able to inflict this style of harm. Let's say, it wouldn't shock me if it evolved into something else, call it a bomb, call it we just drive a fast car right through like a football game. That there is going to be there's just going to be a popular method of doing some harm to somebody. And it's just unfortunate that this is one of the more efficient ways to make it happen. And how long have we been through this song and dance a couple of times, and it really hasn't, there's nothing tangible we've done about it. But you're right. You can't get rid of the firearms. Just not going to happen. All right.
So do you think this might be something tangible?
It's something's better than nothing. At least this is a step to go, well, hey, if I'm getting calls, if police are showing up to my house with concerns, I got to take it seriously, or else I get in trouble too. And, we're at a certain point, a lot of us are selfish. Yeah. And I think some of these parents are incredibly selfish. And if it means, hey, 10 years in prison, or I gotta get some help, or at least I gotta involve other people to the point where if something does happen, I can at least point the liability stick over there and say, hey, well, it's the police's problem. I did my part. And at that point, we're not going to eradicate them all. It's too popular of a way to harm somebody now. But do we reduce it by half? Do we reduce it by 2 or 3? I think it's worth trying, especially when it's really going to impact 100, 200 families at most.
Right.
I mean, at the very most, because this isn't a widespread issue. This is a very publicized issue. This is not a widespread issue. This isn't every county, every school has to worry about this. Not really. Some do, just because that's
they all worry about it. Will they all be victim of it? No, that's the. Yeah. But they all got to worry about it.
Yeah, just like tornado drills. I bet a lot of schools do tornado drills.
I bet they don't do it anymore. I bet they did, and they're like, we're still in the tornado zone, but we're more likely to see a creepy kid in a coat.
I don't want to say statistically it's the case.
Yeah,
if you're in Northern California,
remember, can we agree there was a decade or two where they were doing nuclear?
That's right. See,
it
evolves. It evolves.
Exactly. So it's bound to it's going to change.
Yeah.
Like again, this is the phenomenon now, and this is another world where we could take the dialogue. And I'm going to avoid going down it too far. But the truth is, how much of this is social media? How much of it is the screens?
Yeah.
21 Pilots, greatest band of all time. They have a song about how neon gravestones, like how these things are our gravestones. And the more we fantasize or romanticize suicide and everything else, the more people are going to be drawn to it. And so I used to think at the beginning of this problem, the biggest cause was the fact that you're looking at a kid that is isolated, alone, hates the world, and is going to kill themselves. And you're advertising on the TV. You'll be a name that everybody talks about and everybody remembered. You'll be in every person's living room. You're going to kill yourself anyway. Yep. So just do this one heinous act before you leave. So it's almost like we're motivating or compelling people to do this type of act. So I wanted to, that's also an element.
No, yeah.
I only bring that up because when we're sitting here kind of going, all right, well, what are solves for this issue? What else is there?
There's
right?
Not a whole lot else. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, no. It's one of those instances. They're not there to. Rarely do they ever live to experience the consequences of those actions.
Right.
This is for them. This is it. This is the end of the line, the end of the road. I'm going to go out. Damn it. I'm going to go out with a bang. I hate that, but
and isn't it sad that
intended.
Isn't it sad that some of these kids can't see beyond tomorrow, man? Like to just have that living through and just be like, oh, fuck it all. 14 years old, 13, and just say, just giving it's sad. It's really sad. I don't know what someone could really be going through to walk into a school where there's no one in school that doesn't have a friend. You know what I mean? Like, and putting your homie in, like, I don't know. I don't get it. I think
in sad cases, these are the kids that don't have friends.
This is the rare always
the popular cheerleader isn't doing this. The popular, the popular kid isn't doing this. This is the loners. This is the kid who goes and, sometimes.
But you always have that one loner with the guy that come out. Yeah, we were friends. We were good. And they just.
There's some of them, but you usually hear the stories like, yeah, he didn't talk too much, didn't say too many things. Some people harass him every now and then, but there's just there's more than just one there's it's not necessarily just the parents either. It's the home it's the school environment, it's the after school environment.
So one thing I do want to say is, I want to complete the thought about how social media and the internet and broadcasting it might also perpetuate this problem. Part of the argument I always used to say was, do you recall or remember, this was like just at the beginning of our time, like our parents would know it. If you were to go to your parents and go, do you know anything about going postal? That was a term. That was a thing. And it was U.S. Postal Service people lighting up the post office. Yep. And it was, and the theory was that working for the mail service was so mundane and such a boring lifestyle that it would snap these people's psyches and they would show up and snap. Well, guess what? that was a phenomena that was reported in the news, was romanticized, and didn't stop. And it was like, oh my God, we should take everybody's guns. What are we going to do? There's this problem at the post office is snowballing. And then what? Crickets? It doesn't exist. So this problem that's regionally isolated only in our country and isn't anywhere else is probably being perpetuated as a social phenomena. And so until you socially attack it, right? Making any policy, rules, laws for guns, and guess what's already a law? You can't go shoot your classmate, and they're doing it. So you can't write more rules. There's no more rules you could write to stop the problem. So if we can acknowledge that this is a social infection, then truly the only way to attack it head on is social implication. Make the parents socially invested in saving their own ass. Guess what? This isn't 99.99999% of people's problems, because most parents have the natural instinct of self-preservation and familial preservation. The psychopath that tends to raise a psychopath, if at the least, even Ted Bundy, even the worst, at the lowest increment of care, at the least, every life existence cares about self-preservation. So if I can't get you to even give a shit about your offspring's preservation, at the very least, you selfish, narcissistic prick will do everything in your power to save your own ass. And to me, that's the only way I ensure that my kid can share a classroom with your kid.
Yeah. And on the Postal thing, they made 2 video games about that. That's how
Seriously?
much. That's how much. Yeah, Postal and Postal 2.
How many people played Call of Duty growing up through an airport? And Doug's gonna go on a plane tomorrow. Doug, you got any dirty secrets? You played Call of Duty. Got any skeletons in your closet?
I do remember that they had to release an update of that game to give you the option of opting out of that campaign level.
Remember,
and warning
no
you.
Russian.
And nobody opted out.
No.
Everybody was like playing that. So we all have that seed embedded in us, and none of us are dangerous. Except for Ricky.
Questions in the comment. Was the 3 Postal games, was the Postal game on the computer and Postal game out recently?
I know there was 2.
Those had to
I
have
know
been
the second
old.
one was like, that was real early our
That
time.
is crazy.
Yeah.
But I
There might
only
have
know
been
about
third.
going postal, like from a fort. I'm coming here. I just heard about going, bro. You're going postal, like you're going crazy, you going nuts. I never knew there was a story behind it. That's why I'm here cracking up. Like, what the hell? Like the whole time, I didn't know.
Yeah, that was another one. The Sylvester Stallone, Rambo. The original Rambo was pretty much him going postal.
What?
Yeah, the original Rambo. So we all remember Rambo 2, where he goes through and fights the Viet Congs, but the original Rambo was him going postal after coming back from war. Kind of like a little bit of like war PTSD, but definitely that's of the same style. This is, I think you made a beautiful point that this was ingrained to our society as much as video games and movies were made about this.
Music too.
And
Music too.
we haven't seen a school shooter video game, and if there is, it might be some real kind of obscure indie game, not something I'm going to market on SportsCenter.
Dude, Louis C.K. can't even do an underground joke at a club when somebody filmed it on their phone and got like a bit that wasn't even done he's working on without the whole world snapping. Imagine a video game chapter.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I think we're in the step in the right direction on this. It takes, we got to do incremental steps. We can't just change every single policy all the time when something bad happens. We have to remember we got to keep these things in perspective. This isn't an everyday activity. This isn't an every person event, and this isn't in every place every time. So it sucks every time we see it. I hate it. You hate it. We all hate it. But it's holding the parents more accountable than they have been to allow them to allow the rest of society to kind of just move on. And hopefully we can have better villages to raise these children so they don't do this, because we don't see this. Another thing, we don't see this when people get older. We don't see this in college campuses very often. If it is, it's even more rare than a regular school shooting.
Yeah, it's almost like it's at the point when they're most impressionable, most mentally fragile, changing the most, which results in the worst, fragile psyche. Doug, what are your rapping thoughts?
Let's raise smarter children, I guess. I think that's my rapping thought.
Brilliant. All right, moving on. Diddler. We maybe have a potential to see justice. I don't know what to expect here, but the Diddler himself has been indicted by the federal grand jury, and he's on the run. He was on the run, but they got him. And he's now going to be facing trial. So we've got an interesting series of events ahead of us. What makes it so interesting? And why is this of so much interest? Well, let's hear from the federal attorney general himself. Tell us what we can see forecasted in this trial.
Announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs.
I just want to be very clear here. Through the long deep dive that I've done, I kept seeing in official legal reports freak-offs. And I just kept thinking that was like an ad-libbed interpretation. Oh no, this is an official term. I've never seen it in a legal book in my life, but they are quadrupling down on this. They are committed to the freak-offs. I have heard every official legal officer discussing this case every time doubles down on the freak-off. So that is a real piece of the case. Freak on.
Hey, yo, freak off, freak.
Recorded them. The freak-off sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed
and MSG
to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee.
Have you guys, we showed that video on the last one.
Oh, yeah.
That video is crazy, dude.
Wild for real.
Yo, Tank Inc. over here wildin'.
Free Diddy, yo,
Blue
like
Lives
that.
Matter.
These assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks
Yo,
to
Tank
heal.
me party.
In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the
So why do they? I just maybe can I project a little bit? I want to be a liberal for a minute, just for a minute. Can I project some racism? I found some racism. My call to racism is going to be: why is the term freak offs only hyper used with the Sean Diddy Combs and not Epstein? Like literally everything you just said is what Epstein did, and yet it wasn't a freak off. It was a distinguished tea party with the vegetable from across the bay and Bill Gates.
Diddy literally but Diddy was out here calling it a freak off. He was telling people, yes.
Wait, it's a self-proclaimed
He was,
freak off?
yes.
That's what he was calling it. Yeah.
This was way before any indictment. In the streets, the rumors are Diddy's having freak off. If you go party with Diddy, you're going to go to the freak off.
Diddy party. It was known. That's true.
It's been known.
Yeah.
See, those distinguished criminals know how to sell it. It's not a freak off. It's just a beach vacation to my island.
Everyone needs someone like Tank in their side.
And conceal
yes. Tank.
against witnesses to his abuse, kidnapping, and arson. The indictment alleges that on more than one occasion, Combs carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten victims and witnesses.
Bang, 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 bang.
Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff. The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with supplies, including drugs, baby oil.
Yeah, 50 Cent was the first one. Shout out to Curtis Jackson, yo. He was the first one he's the one putting it on Front Street because there was always rumors about Diddy since the 90s. But 50 Cent was the first to come on an interview and be like, yo, Diddy came out and said he wanted to take me shopping.
Yeah, he wanted to take me shopping. Yeah.
I already got clothes. Diddy said,
I buy my own clothes.
You ain't dressed how I want you to dress. Let me take you shopping. And he doubled down. So 50 Cent, shout out to Curtis Jackson, man. He is one of a kind.
To the Breakfast Club for following up on that. That's good. That's good social journalism. So, did you try buying him clothes? Yeah, I didn't like the way he was dressing.
Exactly.
When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers. The indictment also alleges that they helped Combs cover up his crimes. During the March 2016 incident at the LA hotel that I mentioned earlier, a member of the hotel security staff intervened, and Combs attempted to bribe the staff member with a stack of cash to make sure that what happened was kept quiet. And as the indictment alleges, in late 20...
All right, Pulp Fiction. Anybody watch that movie? The Fixer, right? All right, David isn't believing me over here. I'm like, yeah, dude, The Fixer, where they call the guy and they're like, all right, we got a dead guy. You got to come get him.
The Wolf. His name was The
Wolf. That's it. See, that's why you got a Doug.
The Equalizer. The Equalizer. The
Wolf. The cleaner.
Yeah.
Everybody
check out the comments real quick.
That's a real mafia dude to get.
A lot of comments here.
I hate the change of wording from. Well, it makes it more distinguished.
And the one before, there we go.
Yeah, make that make sense. It doesn't. That's the truth. It doesn't. But whatever.
Charlemagne pointed out a great point. Whoever is on them tapes, in them freak offs, is in the racketeering as well. They're involved.
100%.
They're in the racketeering. And I can't wait for this to be all ended. And can we bring our money together and do a public record so we can break these news? I don't want to see I don't want to see the videos. I just want to know who was in it.
Brother, this comes back to the Ghislaine Maxwell thing. I was going to bring that up too.
Oh, yeah.
Is how do you go? We're just throwing the book at him. We're also going to get him with the RICO Act, and it's like, okay. How do you say he was conspiring with high-profile agents or social agents without exclaiming who those social agents are? So this is going to be like, oh yeah, you traffic kids, but we're not going to say to who. All right, we're going to get the same thing here. You get the RICO Act. You were conspiring to hold out all these mafia conspiracies, and we're not going to say who you did it with. That's what I anticipate, unfortunately, because what this is a deeply rooted network within the music industry. He's at the center of it. And if they don't, it's kind of like getting bit by a zombie. Their arm got bit. These guys are going to cut their arm off and they're going to move on with it without the arm. Diddy is the arm. So he's infected. He's going to be dead. They're going to be moving on without the arm. That's how I see this going. They're going to say, yeah, you conspired, but we're not going to say with who.
Yeah. Didn't he turn himself in too? Thought Diddy.
No, they didn't. They got it.
They
He was
came and
supposed to turn
collected
himself
him.
in, and they went for him.
He was indicted. I was going to get the video ready for us, but it was just too much. But they actually have a video of him like really uncomfortably skeeving, like he's itching at the park. He's like in the middle of Central Park, just sitting like on a hillside, just like totally uneasy, just like an hour or two before he got the call.
No, there's also reports too. 2:00 in the morning, he shut down a restaurant. Went to the restaurant with his family and stuff.
And I'm sure it was totally just,
above board.
Right. Nothing to see here, folks. Yep. Well, here, let's catch this little bit of the clip left here.
2023, after public allegations were made about Combs's crimes, he and others pressured witnesses and victims to stay silent, including by making phone calls to witnesses and victims and giving them a false narrative of what they had experienced. And as alleged, Combs used others to help conceal his abuse by monitoring and preventing victims from leaving a location in order to hide their injuries, or by locating and contacting a victim who had attempted to flee. As part of this investigation, in March of this year, special agents from HSI executed search warrants at Combs's residences in Miami and Los Angeles. They also executed a warrant for Combs's electronic devices. During those searches, agents seized evidence of the crimes charged in this indictment. They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced AR-15s and a large capacity drum magazine. They also seized evidence of the freak-offs, electronic devices that contain images and videos of the freak-offs with multiple victims. And they seized cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs, more than 1,000 bottles altogether.
Holy shit.
Here are some of the items that we recovered.
Wait, hold on real quick. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mute it. I want to hit real quick Steve Shack's comment here. This is pretty interesting. So there's a cool dialogue going on in the comments right now. And there's kind of a debate on whether or not we could kind of trust the validity of the guns that were planted and everything else. And one of the things I like about this comment is if the FBI can't show me full body cam vid of the home raid from beginning to end, I won't believe that they're his guns. That being said, what I have more of a distrust for is if I don't have a full body cam of you raiding the house, as Steve is indicating here, then I'm also not going to believe you got all the videos, or that those were the videos, or that these aren't AI videos. If Twitter can break over AI videos of Taylor Swift having sex, I can essentially make the argument that you can make any of this. And yes, you have the FBI vetting software that can check the macro data or whatever, micro data or whatever, and check it all out. I get it. But the bigger piece here is you raided Epstein's Island, and I still don't believe you got everything there. Or you did get everything there, and I still don't believe you're prosecuting and acting on everything there. So in a world where we all in unison do not believe you are totally up to snuff, the only way to address that, stifle it, or, bring ease to any of those concerns would be full transparency. That's easily achieved with a body cam that shows me you went on Epstein's Island and you're showing me you collected everything you possibly can. But we know you wouldn't do that because we also know that isn't possible.
Yeah, and the gun things too. I always find this weird because everything he's listing is legal stuff. Anyone here can buy as long as they're not a felon. And it'd be like going to your house, like, well, he's got a bunch of kitchen knives. He's got some scissors. Beware of that sharp razor blade, though. He's definitely a criminal. I always hate that. It's a drum magazine. We can all go and buy a drum magazine right now. We're all allowed to buy ammo. You're allowed to buy a gun. You're allowed to have as many guns you want. Really, it's not illegal to have 100 guns sitting in your house. Now, I get
As long as you're not a felon. And I hate when they do that. Oh, you have all these guns. Is he a felon?
Yeah. Well, I don't think so. If he is, oh yeah.
Right. No, honestly, wait, case. David, I want you to be logically consistent, my friend.
Uh-oh.
You can't have a viral clip of you defending Hunter Biden saying you are a First Amendment purist, saying that smoking crack or not, everybody gets to have a gun, whether or not you did smoke crack.
Yeah.
So if that's the spirit of your position, then you also need to stand by. You should have all the guns done. That should never be held against you.
Well, we still operate under the confines of the law, and if he's not a felon, he's allowed to own these guns. You can deface your AR as many times as you want. I've seen many awful paint jobs on ARs that aren't great. He's not painting it probably wood camo. It's probably hot pink, hot red, whatever. Should you should be able to own guns if you commit crimes? Yeah. I think you should, but under the confines of the law here,
Jeez.
It's not like he's assuming he's not already a felon, which I'm not up to date on his legal ramifications right now. But having a drum magazine, okay, whatever. Whatever. You got a kitchen knife in your house. That's basically what they're saying.
Right.
What's his stove like? Oh, he's got a
stove.
He's not allowed to have that. That KitchenAid fridge. Ooh. That's bad news. But
samurai sword above the fireplace.
That's right.
And I'm with you. That's it. But that's one minor layer to the plethora of infractions they're going after him for.
Absolutely.
And for it to be so dense and deep, it's pretty hard to find it not credible. One of them has to be accurate. And if all of Hollywood's sitting around telling us that that's what's been going on, safe to say that's probably what's been going on.
And it might not be the only one either.
Here, Steve, he could be involved in a gun and drug trade, which I believe could be true. Steve's onto something. And this is what's crazy. My cousin, apparently,
getting personal here,
knew that kid that was like 25, 26 that got arrested in, I believe, Miami or something because he was the one trafficking
earlier
all
this
the
year
drugs for them.
Yep. Earlier
he was
this year
from
at the
Ohio.
airport.
My cousin knew this kid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude. He's like just 5-6 years younger than us. And that being said, I guess I only bring it up because I have a personal, intimate experience where like somebody knew the guy. Like my aunt's like, "Can you believe this is crazy, man? He's on the TV and man, you knew him." And blah blah.
But I expect that, yo. Like Ohio is the crossway for drug
we are
dealers.
The crossroad to hell and heaven.
Like someone from Ohio is always in the middle of some bullshit, some way, somehow. Always in some bullshit.
No, I'm with Steve. Like I appreciate just having like the round table of thoughts here, but it's a fruitful thought because there's something here. You're finding a house full of guns. They're not just a semi-auto. Like this isn't for house protection. This is building a little rap militia, and then a guy that knows a guy within my own intimate circle happened to be trafficking, muling drugs around the guy, and apparently he's the go guy. Like he's the one that's going down for the whole thing. There's a huge drug element to this. Not to mention every Hollywood star that has ever been intimately involved with any of these parties or any of the out of the limelight social events this is 100% the epicenter of all of those conversations. This is exactly what the narrative is. And everybody knows, what did Denzel Washington tell me? Get out of there by 11. Like they all have the who would be Hollywood fathers and leaders of the community are the first to tell you, get the hell out of there though by 11. And clearly stuff was happening after 11. Let's take it all the way back to Ricky's comment where it's like, 1,000 bottles is crazy.
That might be more damning.
Yo,
that is wild.
I'm speaking for a friend. I ain't speaking from experience. One baby bottle of oil lasts like 5 years, as Nalette said. Now, I don't know how she would know and how I know, but like that shit lasts like 5 years. I like, come on. Even if you're using it on your knees every day, you only need a little bit.
Knees.
Like,
what are you doing on your knees, Ricky?
I'm sorry. Y'all ain't black. Y'all don't get the ashiness on the elbows and the knees.
Just kidding. You made it too easy.
I'm fucking with you. But it's crazy. It's crazy. Diddy, look, it's like NFL, NBA players, they're trying to live these lives, and rappers that make it out of the hood are still trying to live these lives. Yeah. And I don't know why y'all don't just pick a peaceful life, a picket fence, feed your family, and just hit your craft as hard as you can and be happy. If you want to do all the fuckery, go outside of America where they won't come back at you and indict you. I don't know.
Especially when you're worth 9-10 figures, like you're worth 9-10 figures. You're a music executive. You're a record executive. Like, why are you still doing all of this thug stuff, all of this gangster stuff? Like, bro, you beat the system. You're out of the hood. What are you still doing with all these guns?
All right. So that all being said, we're clearly still only at the beginning of this, right? The Attorney General is exclaiming the long laundry list of charges that are coming his way, and obviously there will be a long legal battle that washes this all out. I'll be interested to see, what does his bond look like? How much time will he be spending in a cell? Who knows? But with the next topic being so dense, we got to start wrapping this bad boy up. So let's start with Ricky. Ricky, do you have any rapping thoughts on this topic?
Man, as I'm all about evidence and verify with my eyes nowadays, because I can't believe nothing in the public domain unless I can see with my eyes from a credible source. So right now it's just patience and time and no more speculation.
I can appreciate that. Silent, any rapping thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is going to get, unfortunately, a lot more uglier. There's going to be a lot more details that are going to come out, a lot more proof, a lot of evidence. And like what Ricky said, until the whole case is done and, the judge judges on it, we can't really judge much because we don't have all the information, like Ricky said. So we only have what they're showing us so far and what's been out to the public, what TMZ has, what the news has, but that's it. We don't clearly have the full scope of the entire story. So we can't really make that much.
Hey, buddy. You can refrain from judging, but I will judge. I have plenty of judgment, and I will cast it all. Please finish your thought.
Calling it free cops and 1,000 baby oil bottles is a little wild. I get that. No, yeah, that you can judge. I totally understand. But I think here, my point is we can't really judge because obviously there's bigger things going on than just what they're showing us, right? There's more kind of details. There's more fine print to a lot of what's happening here, really. And
so let me ask you this: do you think if there's any potential that it gets better? Right? Some would say that it definitely can't get better. If there's more, it can only get worse for him. At least it seems.
Yeah, I would think so. Unfortunately,
we need freak-off prisons. Now, this is English class, kids. We're gonna break this down. Is that saying we need prisons for the freak-offs, like the people that freak off? We put them in a prison all to their own, or is this saying that we have a special prison where people freak off? And I think those would have a poll.
Those are two different things.
Very different. Again, this is why commas are important. That's the difference between helping your Uncle Jack off of a horse and your Uncle Jack off a horse. So yeah. And anyway, please wrap your thoughts.
Yeah, and like I said, until all of the details come out and until this case is over, we're just gonna kind of be left speculating. Yeah, exactly. Innocent until proven guilty. Exactly. So
I can appreciate it. Wrapping thought is I've prejudged. You're guilty. Throw away the key. And I only say that because I imagine it will only take a couple of days in a concrete box before some Clinton crony comes into your cell and hands you the rope. And I think we already know what we're dealing with. So I'd like to hope there's justice, but I also know the world I live in. And you will either bite your tongue, not be a rat, and go down with the ship. And they'll somehow get... You know what I saw? I saw somebody visit a jail recently, a prison that Al Capone was in. Oh. And they showed Al Capone's cell. And it was like, of course this is Al Capone's cell. It's beautiful. And so I will say, even if he is in a box, they'll make sure there's a tennis yard and maybe a basketball court and a golf course and recess. I mean, Epstein literally didn't even have to be there. His attorney worked it to such a degree, bro got to leave and just had to come back by 5 p.m. So I'm just saying, even if they do lock it down, he'll either be a damn good rat, go down with the ship, and be given the keys to the kingdom within the prison world, or he'll be Clinton and bye-bye, and that'll be it. But I think here's the thing. My wrapping thought will be this. We know there's a collection of these people. We know that there's been a whole market that has capitalized on this. It manipulates and controls people of influence. The intelligence agencies, whether it be ours, Israeli, or across the board, they all have known and mastered the fact that this is the best way to compel and manipulate action within authoritative people. It works. It's been the plan for the last 100 years, and only because of accountability, and that accountability becoming because cameras are in everybody's palm and the interconnected web of the human hive. But because this is the day of reckoning and it's catching up to them, I don't know if this is something that they'll be able to capitalize and utilize moving forward. This is probably the end of one of the most relied upon political tools in the global arena ever. But good. Guess you can't just seed child porn onto a person's... Oh, I said it, damn it. Well, see you guys. I guess that's the end of the show. But you can't just feed that onto someone's computer and then... take them out, because that's another tactic they do. They just drop it in and go, look, now get them. So I think the day of reckoning's here. I don't know. What are your wrapping thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a little pessimistic that we're going to see a whole lot come out of this, other than he's just in prison now, and that's just how it's going to be. They'll have a trial, but just like the Epstein thing, they're gonna claim RICO, and then we just don't know anyone else who's featured in this. I actually don't believe there's a whole lot of politicians that are involved in this. I think this is more of just that music community, Hollywood types, and I think it's kind of kept within that. I think it's been a fairly small circle. I don't think this is a large circle, but it would be, I think we're all interested to hold those accountable who are involved in it, and we're actual pieces of getting this machine going. But it does, at least from what I've seen so far, it sounded pretty small just based on his very immediate inner circle, and I don't think we're going to see too much outside of that.
You're probably right. Doug, wrapping thoughts.
I think we need to call Batman to stop the Diddler.
All right, so moving on to our final topic here. This is the big, the dense one. Donald Trump faced his second assassination attempt, prevails once again, takes a sip from the bulletproof glass. But this being a very intriguing event. One, because I think if it was the first of the attempts, the world would have stopped as it did the last time. Yeah. The last time being significantly more impactful because it had physical contact. Oh, yeah. Why is this any different? Why is this getting literally a third, if not a quarter, of the notice and broadcasting as the last event? It's almost like they're just wiping over it and it didn't even exist. To those that don't know, Donald Trump decided to take an improv jump on the golf course. And because he is not the president, the Secret Service, with his limited security intel, only was able to get enough security to cover the hole that he was on, the hole behind him, and the hole in front of him. So as he migrated across the course, the Secret Service migrated with him. It was then a hole in front of him that a Secret Service man was able to see a barrel poking through one of the fences in the foliage, and they returned fire, not returned, but they sent fire his way, and the gentleman ran and fled the scene, and they were able to catch him up the street as he tried to run from police. Here is the body cam of them getting him.
To your right! Take 2 steps to your right! Driver, walk straight back!
Let it be noted, if he didn't have his hands in the air and a shirt covering his head, and I don't know, he charged him, regardless of his skin tone, he would be dead. So just saying, take damn note.
Keep walking!
I don't know, it's almost like he's a killer that wanted to survive the incident.
Which is unusual for these.
Which is unusual for these. That's why I bring it up. But
What's your name, Austin?
there is something exciting about the fact that we finally have one in custody.
Yeah, caught one.
Something that has made it impossible to interrogate and learn from these situations is the fact that we've never had them. They've left this plane before we can ever do anything.
Is this the second one in history we've ever caught? We caught the JFK shooter.
But
And
then he was shot a day later by another psyop.
We still caught him though. This one, if history repeats itself, do we have some?
Oh my
questions?
goodness. I would imagine the next day the entirety of that JFK file is released.
Oh,
if this
absolutely.
guy is shot in the belly. In fact, I'm biting my tongue. I was going to say somebody should just do that so then we could get all of the JFK files. Don't do that.
Nah,
Wink, 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 wink. All right. I wanted to just show another piece of video from that day, which is peculiar, and I'd love to hear your thoughts because I'm supposed to pretend none of this is worth our attention. Here is a clip from MSNBC. Can somebody explain to me why MSNBC was filming Trump golfing prior to the shooting? Does any of that make sense to anybody? Let me just make a philosophical argument to those that can't think. So what's something that they come down on Trump for all of the time? They say he's a jerk that plays too much golf. You guys hear that before? Oh no, that's another problem I'm going to come back to. This is a different article. What is the thing that they say to him all the time? Trump plays too much golf, right?
Oh, there we go.
Spent more time on the golf club than Obama has spent. Let's make it very clear. With 248 days over the course of 4 years, and CNN says we disagree with his reported numbers. We calculate 266 days. And Obama's was 98. So literally a little over a third. Yep. It's not like Obama neglected the golf course. No. And I only say that because if your hyper focus is going to be how much golf this guy does, it's insane. But it's insane.
Trump made that an issue in his first run-in for election.
Yeah, and he made the joke about Biden.
He made that an issue. So if they're coming back at him now and saying he deserve it,
No, Ricky, you're wrong on that one because if you look at this article, this was prior to the debates. So, God dang it, I keep doing the assassin. I want to come back to this one, but this article here, I'll show you.
The charm.
But I don't have a problem with either man having their leisure time. You're running a fucking country. You have a lot on your brain.
2020. Ricky, they've been beating him over this for 4 years. So
but when he was running in 2016,
let's not get lost in the weeds. Defending the crazy people obsessed with how much golf he's played. as if Obama and Biden didn't play golf. I went with Obama. Biden's numbers were much higher on the golf course. Not this year not this term because he was dead. But as vice president, he played significantly more than Obama. But I wanted to keep it fair. I'm not trying to make that argument. My argument is if you're going to be hyper obsessed over 266 or 248 days on the golf course, I want to ask you this, think tankers, all the folks with the brains around me. How many of 248 days, how many of those days, Ricky, I'm coming to you, big guy, how many of the 248 days were newsworthy enough to have MSNBC in the parking lot ready? Crickets?
I get you. No, crickets. That was my argument. My argument was like, why we focus on the numbers? Like,
so what are the odds that
that's suspicious, brother? That's suspicious.
Pretty darn suspicious. The one time the news is there to report him on the golf course, and there's really no report because you've already reported that he's done it 248 times while he was president, and you know it isn't a report when he's golfing when he isn't president. Nobody gives a shit. So what are you there to report? Very convenient. So it's so removed from the numbers, and it's hyper-focused on why are you even there? So here's another thing that, you know, I'm going to avoid getting lost in all of wasting our time too much with this, but somebody went through and archived and screenshotted. This is Ryan Routh or Routh. I don't care to figure it out. The guy that was arrested. It's very peculiar how every social media company has removed his account entirely. So all of this was wiped. And if it wasn't for the human hive of the internet, we wouldn't have all of this. And so who is this guy? We'll go kind of to the beginning, right? He's talking about how Ukraine, this is dire, and he's crazy obsessed with the Ukraine situation. Oh, here's a clip from him from 2 years ago.
Why I'm here. To me, you know, a lot of the other conflicts are gray, but this conflict is definitely black and white. This is about good versus evil. This is a storybook. You know, any movie we've ever watched, this is definitely evil against good. I mean, we're battling a situation here where you know, the Ukrainians and the rest of the world are caring and kind and generous and unselfish and take care of one another.
What you saying?
It's just a matter of
why the fuck is he so skinny, bro? Like, like, do they have they had them in captive for this moment? That's conspiracy. But like, why? What? Like, that man looks unhealthy. Like,
doesn't he?
Looks unhealthy.
And again,
yeah, it looks
your physical health affects your mental health, right? Like all of this is symbiotic.
We need to stand up for that. That is the most important thing in the world, is just to show human beings that we're kind and we're caring and that we take care of one.
The most important thing in the world is our involvement in the Ukraine war.
And that the world is united so that we feed each other and make sure that, you know, we all move forward as one collective whole unit. So, you know,
who's he looking at and who's moving the camera?
Yeah, this is a very weird video.
A very weird video. His own video about it.
Right. I mean, we're doing it.
Yeah.
He's got a Doug.
Not that weird.
Doug was messing with his camera too.
But at least when I'm talking, I at least look at the camera, you know, because it's kind of weird how he's not really looking at the camera and he's looking off to the corner like that, you know? It's kind of...
Well, what if it's a teleprompter?
Yeah,
or
the first
like
rule in Hollywood's don't look at the camera. He's probably got that. You know, people got different styles, these things. You know, maybe he's interviewing himself.
I got to go on a limb and say, I don't even think this guy was thinking style. I think this is a schizophrenic that just threw a camera in front of his face.
Well, he was very obsessed about this. So he's got to get his thoughts out there. He's got to get it out the world. We need yet another opinion about why invading another country is bad.
Well, okay. I'm trying to avoid making this the craziest presentation, but speaking of like Ukraine, right? He's been photographed at a lot of these Ukraine rallies and huge support for Ukraine. Here's Edward Snowden's tweet. We know little so far, but we alleged the alleged Trump shooter's personal and public participation in military activity in Ukraine. But it is hard to imagine this White House's agencies can claim zero contact, clean hands, something of an Oswald vibe here. So Congress should get answers. I love that because, one, that's their job. Like, if any entity has the ability to get answers, it's Congress. They don't, but they should. And it's a great claim. And we should be curious and asking why they don't. But notice the cat we're dealing with. Like, he's a hyper involved protester, or what do they call him? Activist.
He's an activist.
And he's hyper involved. But I'm going to let you guys kind of dissect the dialogue the most. I just want to highlight the most peculiar elements of this thing. So moving forward, I want to ask, I'm not trying to, rip up old scabs of evil QAnon, so I'll refrain from that. But, a tagline that was hyper referenced during those ages were, how many coincidences until mathematically impossible to be called a coincidence anymore? That was kind of the theme of the whole movement. So I'm going to refrain from re-quoting that evil movement, but I just want to ask, how many coincidences? How many Trump attempted shooters need to be in a BlackRock commercial before it's not a coincidence? Some would say the first one, I should be called schizophrenic. But the second one, let's bring it back there. Let's put them back on the stage. But the second one, so again, asking numbers here, is it 100? There is a number. How many Trump assassination attempt shooters need to be in a BlackRock commercial before it's not a coincidence?
Is that nigga, bro? That's the same
him.
nigga?
So is it 2? Is it 10? Is it 100? The line is somewhere. I'm trying to figure out at what point do we cross that line? So we are batting 1,000, folks. 2 of 2. 100% of them have been funded by one of the strongest financial entities in the world. I am driving home sober tonight, and if my car goes into a tree, it is because of the computer system that was hijacked and not my hyper focus on the road. Let's be very, very clear. Thoughts? Anybody got any thoughts before I continue walking down the road of crazy?
That's crazy though. Like that.
Yeah, batting 1,000 is
batting
wild. For real. That's wild.
I think the one thing to probably point out in relation. So now we have 2 points of data with this. Well, how many BlackRock commercials are there in a year? How many do they?
Come on!
How many do they
It's not like it's flipping Bud Light.
Yeah,
there's
like,
not a Bud Light commercial, a new Bud Light commercial every Sunday.
Wait.
And
if there's one like every 2 months, okay, if there's like several different campaigns.
But the past 2 shooters was in a BlackRock.
yes,
commercial.
dude.
Yes.
If you go back to our last episode,
Yo, this is
where
a
we
cult.
broke down the first assassation attempt,
It's a terrorist
we showed
organization.
the clip of him.
Yeah.
And
He was in
Thomas
school.
Crooks was also in a BlackRock. He was in
Bruh.
his school
Yeah.
in a BlackRock commercial.
This is a terrorist organization.
Some would say
This is some
a
like
domestic
White
terrorist
House down
organization, some
some
would
shit.
say.
Yeah.
Some might say.
Some would say.
But but I guess the number
We
how many
might
commercials
say.
they produce. If they're producing like thousands of commercials every single year, okay, all right, now your odds are starting to stack. But if it's hundreds of commercials in the past 3 or 4 years, okay,
peculiar.
This is starting to become a little bit of a trend. Now are we going to start searching every BlackRock commercial?
Hell yeah!
And just like, all right, these people. Well, I hope not, because I don't want some poor actress or actor just like, well, this is my big break. I'm in a BlackRock commercial. Next thing you know, hey, we'd like to scout your house for a couple things.
No, I want you to give your friend a side eye if they ever tell you, "Oh my God, I just got drafted for a BlackRock commercial." Yeah, you should be weary. just a little bit. But let's push forth. You know, Trump. Listen, I'm not saying he's the beacon of good, but the class act that he is, he had a pretty great response to the whole thing. He tweeted out, "I would like to thank everyone for your concern and well wishes. It was certainly an interesting day. Most importantly, I want to thank the U.S. Secret Service, Sheriff Rick Bradshaw, yep, and his office of brave and dedicated patriots, and all of law enforcement for the incredible job done today at Trump International in keeping me as the 45th president of the United States and the Republican nominee in the upcoming presidential election safe. The job was done absolutely outstanding. I am very proud to be an American." I mean, again, here's what I got. No matter much, you say he's got evil tweets, all he does is spit garbage, and yet every time his life is brought into question, he leaves it with class, and he continues to thank the Secret Service, have their back, and stand by America. Yes.
Let me ask this: is there a bad thing to say after assassination attempt?
Well, wait. Let me answer this question. Is there a bad thing to say?
Yeah.
I would probably be the one to say it. I am so lost in the crazy. I'd be looking at them going, if I'm Trump, first thing I'm doing is going, they're trying to kill me. And what's with this? Wait, who's the big large broad who's in all the comedy movies like Bridesmaids?
Amy Schumer.
No.
The Australian woman that used to be big and lost weight.
Yeah.
Oh God.
No, not really. Oh my God, she's in Bridesmaids.
You're right. We just don't know the name.
Bridesmaids. Just because, for the sake of the point, where the hell is this lady?
Rebel Wilson.
No. Rebel Wilson lost a lot of weight. Why is she not on the IMDb top 10?
Which big lady from Bridesmaids?
Melissa McCarthy.
Oh,
Lizzo.
Okay. Anybody gonna say that she isn't?
No, she's not in.
No, I didn't even think she was in that. I don't know.
She was in it.
She's like the main comedian.
She's the butch.
Kristen Wiig is funny. She was the main sense of anyway. If I was Donald Trump, I'd be getting on the microphone going, "What the hell are you doing hiring Melissa McCarthy to be my head of security?" Right? Like, that's what that Secret Service lady looked like. And she didn't know how to holster her gun. She's totally lost. I mean, the whole thing was a shamble. And he goes, "You know, all the people that were close to us that day were intimate with my family. We trust them undoubtedly." He didn't point out the holes in secrets. I'd be the first. The second my life is, this time was successful. But the second they actually touch me, like, I don't know, my ears bleeding, I'm lashing out a lot more. And that's where I think the class comes in, because even at my worst, where I'd be wanting to portray the strongest image, I'd succumb to my emotions and be like, the Secret Service sucks. Get rid of the director. This is a problem. And he did none of that. He let the system work it out.
And I think the other thing too is he's not immediately going to like a policy thing. So like every school shooting is, we got to ban guns. We got to do this. We got to do that. And I think he has the self-awareness to understand, politicians are kind of at a high risk of this. So either going to stop being a politician, and there's no policy to change you being a politician and kind of a targeted figure.
Exactly.
So he doesn't immediately just come out on like policy and just go, "Oh my God, we got to change the fabric of the United States just because I was in danger." I do appreciate that. That's a really bad way to go about it. I think he's had some practice at this now, so I think he can refine his message. Give it one more time, and I bet he's going to write a beautiful poem.
Dude, look at Steve Stack's comment. 2 for 2 in commercials for probably one of the rarest events in human history.
Yep.
Is definitely harder than getting struck by lightning twice. Like, that's a damn good point. Ricky, you were going to say something before we kind of broke it off.
I forgot my first thought, but Melissa McCarthy, bro, she's gold, bro. Come on, man. She's a large broad, bro, but like, she's gold.
Guess what? Hey, Ricky, gold. I hope there's social circles where they're like, "Hey, Alexander Grgat, he's pretty cool. He's funny. But I'm also not hoping they're out here going, no, he's the epitome of health. You all should look like him. Like, right? I could do better.
No, the epitome of health is
would say the
Lizzo.
same, right? So I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be real. Just bringing some reality.
Bro, if we're living in reality, bro, my inspiration for health is Lizzo. I'm gonna keep repeating that. Like,
is
what are you
Lizzo?
talking about?
Hey, she's been losing weight.
Talking
You've been seeing those clips
the transformation, dog. She's working on herself.
She's working on it, dude.
I mean?
Yeah, she's shout out Lizzo. Yeah,
It's not Ozempic. It's not Ozempic. Be in the gym.
To everything she capitalized on. And she should be shamed for losing weight now, too.
Now, it would have been better off if he dogged Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Everyone would be like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we get that.
That's a topic for next week. But she is going to be shamed for losing weight. Just say, like.
Oh, I agree.
She's Nalette just said it. She don't eat meat. She's the biggest vegan I ever seen. I'm sorry we derailed off the track, but yeah, she's the biggest vegan I ever seen.
Who?
She's definitely
the biggest. Lizzo?
Yeah, oh yeah. She's vegan.
Dude, how many carbs are you eating to get like
Ain't
that?
No way.
Just with nothing else?
And
with
dancing on stage. She's like active on stage too. It's weird.
What is your pillow made of cotton candy? What the hell are you doing?
Just drinking straight sugar.
That is a way to get some sweet dreams.
Some sweet Doug. Doug, you're one of a kind.
Doug's got one. Good.
All right, let's go. Moving on. Now, here's just something I seasoned the last conversation with. I find it important to do it once again. They say Trump is the threat to democracy. And again, here's another odd situation. This was reported following the second attempt. You guys kind of already got glimpses of it as I failed to show all the right pictures. But Trump brings these assassination attempts on himself, according to Cincinnati.com.
Oh,
this is the narrative we push. And if all day, every day, you call your opposition, whether you agree or disagree, if you continue to call them Hitler, who exterminated 3 million Jews or people, and amongst them majority Jews, then, well, actually, I think that statistic is only Jewish people. If you're going to compare that to an ideology you just don't agree with, but if he wins, I'm a trans boy and I won't be able to go to school. My life will be in danger. Or I'm black, my life will be in danger. Or I'm a woman, my life will be in danger. No, it won't. That's actually a disgusting, dangerous lie because there are 0 lives in danger. That's where we're at. And so if you're going to continue to say if all of the demographics, 70% of the country, their life is in danger if he wins. And you have articles like this that say Trump brings it upon himself. Then we can't be shocked when the people come, when the entities come through and act upon it, or they capitalize on evil entities that want to act on it. So here's a compilation to remind you of the kind-hearted opposition that is liberal to all ideas, even those that aren't their own.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
Yeah. I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
Forget that one.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels. That this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Ricky, if you think that's not enough, here's more of our future president.
You had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions. Who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
Naughty. Like, yo, ain't nothing like being catching 4K, bro. Like, and since the debate, Kamala is just like, she's going against everything she stood on previously before running for president in the leadership of presidency, because she was standing on her own platform when she was trying to be president, but she's adopting all these shit like naughty. No, I
couldn't agree. All right, I've presented you guys a lot. Before we present the Pickle Gallery with their wrapping thoughts, David, do you have any comments?
Oh, I do. I
want to hear them.
So I think there's some parallels with our first topic where this is starting to gain a little bit of traction here. We're starting to see enough people that are just mentally ill enough to the point where maybe I can change the world. Maybe I can do this.
Could it be mentally ill people that are on the verge that are being capitalized by, I don't know, an evil state?
Well, it's possible. Well, we definitely you don't even need to go too deep into the conspiracy rabbit hole just to watch the news. Just watch what your politicians, what your thought leaders are saying, and they're giving rhetoric pretty close to, hey, this guy, he needs to get out of here. He cannot be amongst the people, and you just get enough. Politics has this way of really tilting someone's psyche into becoming their personality. And when that's your personality, and that is when you get someone who can be addicted to this type of thought process, as we've seen with the Ukraine stuff, you can be fanatical and all of a sudden, oh, he's going to be the guy, so I better take him out. And well, the first guy, well, he failed here, and here. This guy failed here, and here. So now you just start refining this process. It wouldn't shock me if this just becomes a flywheel, just like we saw with the school shootings. You get one, all of a sudden you just get that thought in people's heads, because it's been a significant amount of time since the last one and the first Trump assassination, to the point now where the half-life of this has been incredible. It's only been 2 months. And it's not been on TV, so that he wasn't actually shot at. So this wasn't quite as dramatic as the first one. First one was really quite dramatic,
which is sad. Why does there need to be blood for there to be an impact? Or
well, I think it's just a human nature. So when we hear about it on the news, I think the first thought is like, well, what's going on? What happened? I didn't see it. What are the mechanisms in place? Let me ask you this. Okay?
Do you think if they had an image of a barrel poking out, do you think that would have had more of an impact?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt in my mind, even if it was, let's say, that MSNBC clip where he's just kind of trotting on the golf course and all of a sudden he gets down and he's like covering, he's running away, we would hear about this significantly more, because this is now a live event. This is something on camera versus, I don't want to say hearsay, because I think that's bearing the lead, but it's just a story being told, not something we visually see.
Yes.
So now there's
that layer of experience we're missing.
Exactly.
If there's an impact, it's
hard to sympathize when you hear it secondhand. and he wasn't actually shot at. Now, definitely, there was intent there. There was all the intent in the world. They showed the video or the picture of his setup. He had like a backpack. He had a couple. He was scouting this thing out for either a while, and this wasn't his first rodeo.
Can we do one thing here back to grounding us in all the oddities surrounding this? This was an improvised round of golf. How did he know that? Like, do you get what I'm saying? As an avid golfer, like as somebody that loves golf, I know the instance of, how about this? I'm playing Saturday. It took me calling, this is Tuesday. It took me calling 6 courses, going from my favorites down to ones that I enjoy, but are just farther of a drive I'd like to avoid.
Yep.
Well, I'm stuck going there because all of the tee times are gone.
Yeah.
Like golf is so popular now, and I get this guy's at a country club, it's different. But golf is so popular now, you got to plan way in advance. So those instances where it's like you walk outside, it's 9:30, it's beautiful on a Sunday, and you're like, screw it, I need to get out there. I need to get out there, and you call your friends, you're like, let's make it happen. That's what this was. The guy had availability, created an improvised round. Yes. Did he go to Trump International and golf? Yes. It was one of his courses, but this wasn't something that was in his calendar, a part of the Secret Service's plans, a part of BlackRock's plans, right? Like nobody knew he was golfing that day. So how does just some random chap who's a huge Ukraine activist know that one of the most powerful people in the world decided on a whim to play golf today, and he's going to be at this golf course, not Mar-a-Lago, not Pebble Beach, but he's going to be at this golf course at this hour, and he's got an avenue to get right beside it.
Well, so I think I can explain this pretty easily. So Trump's an avid golfer. That's there's no bones about it. If he has an opportunity to golf, he will golf. He's golfing at Trump International. So, and with his campaign schedule, you typically know where these politicians are going to be pretty much at any given point, and also probably triangulate, well, he's going to be in Florida campaigning, or he's going to stop by here. It probably isn't. It probably doesn't take too many ideas to put together to go, well, he's probably going to be here this Sunday, even if he's not announcing it. Because I don't think he announces when he golfs regardless. So he might be really familiar and intimate with the area and just kind of, I'll just trot around. Oh, I see some, dark black SUVs rolling around. You kind of get a sense when someone really important is like really close within your vicinity. And he's got Secret Service. He's got people around him. And I think even the story you read too, he didn't have quite enough to really secure the perimeter. So they didn't have enough time to really get out and, shoo someone away. It's like, hey, you're looking a little suspicious over there. Get the hell out of here. So I don't think it's that it's not like that much. This isn't like he's going like playing hacky sack or something. He's going to a skate park.
Would that theory then rely upon the fact that Ryan Ruth, also I guess assassination type guy, because he didn't assassinate anybody, but attempting
with intent.
Right. He's the first one that we didn't give a middle name, right? Thomas John Crooks or John Wilkes Booth, or every time we talk about them, we give a middle name, but apparently not Ryan Ruth.
You need to fire a shot to earn the middle name. And he didn't get there. It's unfortunate, but it didn't happen.
That's fair. All right. I'd like to land this plane. This is a dense one, and I really feel like, we're limited. The system around us has limited our ability to dive into this much deeper. So first, let's start with Silent. Silent, what are your wrapping thoughts?
Yeah, this was clearly crazy, and I don't think it's a coincidence that this guy knew exactly where Trump was. And yeah, it's one of those things that just like you said, we're batting 1,000 here, right? So clearly there's a pattern here that's starting to form, and it's not a good one. And I hope at least now that this guy has been arrested and caught, and he was stopped before anything worse could have happened, like the first one where he actually like drew blood and stuff. I really hope that they're able to, extract as much information from this person as possible before someone else tries to get at him or he gets at himself, So I guess only time will tell for that.
I can appreciate that. Ricky, wrapping thoughts?
There's only so many coincidences. There's only so many like rabbit holes you can dig down until something comes. Like not even rabbit holes, carrot holes you can dig down until the carrots sprout. Because rabbits, they just dig their hole, go. So the carrot comes out. So like I don't like conspiracies because they have my brain running too much and not getting the answers.
And we don't want to break
but
that. No.
You feel me? But when there is so like evidence going towards like what's going on, and I still don't understand why Black Rock want to get rid of him. But like, cause it's all about, we gonna get our military up. We're all about America first. We're gonna build here, military, everything here. I don't understand, overstand. I don't get it. But
here,
it's kind of fishy.
I want to feed you the missing jigsaw piece.
Yeah.
Why would they, or what's the motivation? These financial groups own the world, right? Their portfolio owns all of your entertainment, all of your food, all of everything. And so, like, Boeing owns planes. Yes, they make our planes. They also make so much of our military equipment. Bic makes your lighters, and they also make our military equipment. There's so many of these Fortune 500 companies that you could see. Yes, they make your everyday piece of equipment. They also are heavily, heavily invested in lifelong wars and making more wars, making them bigger, longer, more extreme. Buy my, not my lighters. There's only so many stoners. You could buy my missiles and you could blow them up every time. So here's what happened. For the first time ever, I'm not going to do as good of a job as some of the political scientists I've heard break this down, but this is how it was presented. When Trump ran, first he broke through the primary, and that shattered the status quo because really you're not supposed to even break through the first barrier. But he just kept going, this is the dumbest Bush of all the Bushes, and what the hell are we going to do? And they're like, I didn't prepare for this.
You're allowed to do that?
And you're like, wait, who said he could do that? And then he just skated right through the primary. And now, for the first time ever, while politically, policy-wise, or the way they socially present themselves, yes, in the public's eye, they are adverse to each other, but they also share all of the same constituents, right? So referencing a video from when we were addressing the Democrat convention, as Chris Cuomo pointed out, he goes, look at all these giant suites that cost, $50,000 to go up there. That isn't your local high school teacher up there. Those are the folks that are making the decisions. And they come out on this little stage and they say they're here to care about you, but it's all for the big wigs up in those loges. And guess what? Those people in those loges are at the DNC. They're at the loge in the RNC. And so while socially and politically they sell to us being adverse, intimately behind the veil, they're very intimately involved and they share the same interests. Like, look at the Democrats. The Democrats pander to these blue hair folks that they got just ill-willed marching on their behalf. And the conundrum they've created is they literally do not know what to do about this faction of Democrats that are supporting Palestinians. Because you've bred this concept of equality and caring for others. And they're like, no, but don't care for those others because they don't write our paychecks. And that's kind of what we're dealing with is while they present a policy, the charade is, yeah, we care about you and your opinions and we'll humble Netanyahu and those people over there. And then real quickly, they're like, okay, you got me. I really can't do anything. And I don't want to do anything. I'm going to tell you, I don't like dead Palestinians. And then I'm going to absolutely do nothing to prevent it. Why? Because we know who truly owns them. And the Republicans didn't lie, right? They were like, no, we support Israel. They attacked us on October 7th. We blindly support Israel. The Democrats are like, we don't support Israel. We like all the people, and then don't do anything for Palestinians. So what they're talking out the side of their mouth isn't their true policy. Bringing it full circle to your point. Why is Trump then the target to somebody that's just trying to sell you stocks? Because those companies are invested in war, and he's the first regular man that wasn't a part of the mechanism. And he came in here and was like, of the wars I could turn off, I'm turning them off. And I'm definitely not entering any new ones. And they're like, we can't have any more of this guy because I can only sell so many Bic lighters with this guy, and I'd rather sell a nuke. So,
but I get the war point, but there's natural wars building. Like China is like invading on Philippines and Taiwan, and we have alliances. So that's like something you don't have to force. Why don't BlackRock go force China to like really set that shit off instead of?
I think they're all kind of intertwined, right? Like, why are we so blindly invested in defending a little island outside of China called Taiwan? Like, why is that our problem? It's a problem. It's not good. We call ourselves the world police, and we should
chips. That's it.
What's that?
I said it's because of computer chips. That's it.
But why can't we make chips here or in Canada? Why make Taiwan has so much advanced chips than anywhere in the advanced countries? Why is
with the chips being such a pivotal piece? Let's remember that was a world economy goal. Is let's make this so powerful and valuable that China rolling through there would matter. Like, we're the ones that created them being the lifeblood of the chip market. It's not like they're sitting on a pie. We mine the chips. No, that isn't it. You've got the cheapest labor. We've created an economy around this, and we've strengthened it to such a degree that now it's kind of like having a gun to a hostage. Like, if it was just an island, we wouldn't give a shit. But it's the island that would cripple all of the computers of the world. So guess what? England, and guess what? India and Australia and Canada, you all are going to care because they now have a gun to somebody that matters. And that's what happened with Ukraine. Why do we care about Ukraine? Ukraine has all of the minerals. They have all of the important resources in the Eastern European trade. So
wheat too, lots of wheat.
And yes, so guess what? We now have an excuse. We're not just defending Ukraine, its peoples, and rightness. We're defending a giant pile of resources. What's going on with Israel? Not only do they own us and we need to defend them, but at the same time, we're building a canal that's going to make them billions. The Wusay Canal, I can't remember. But anyway, there's a canal that they're building right on the western border of Israel that just like the what canal is it by Egypt? That's like the Suez Canal is the one that has a monopoly on the port going through the Suez Canal. Well, Israel's going to cut that to null by putting in this canal. So we've put in this super important canal. They own our country. We have all of these resources there. We keep giving them billions of dollars. They own all of our president. So all of that being said, now it's like, why do you care? I don't care, but we have to care because they've got a gun to a valuable. So a lot of this is, if they were like, look, we got Venezuela, we'd be like, okay, good luck with the chicken bones. It starts and stops there. So I think that's why Taiwan's so valuable. And I want to bring it full circle. Speaking of Ryan Ruth, how odd is it that he was funded by a pro-Taiwanese group as well? So through his Ukrainian activism, he was able to drum up financial resources from a pro-Taiwan group. And so there's like this interconnectivity that's just very incestual and weird. You guys kind of presented yours. My wrapping thought's going to be this. When it comes to what we're experiencing, every time we talk about Trump, prior to these recent election conversations, I've always said I've had a bit of a side eye. I think he's controlled opposition. The fact that him and his family were super tight with the Clintons up until the day that he ran for president, and now they hate each other. The fact that Alexander Acosta was the prosecutor at the time and let Epstein just walk, and then Trump brings him in as like a board of his treasury. The whole thing's super weird. There's pictures, of him with Epstein. There's just things behind the veil, and I've heard other concepts or theories that could negate this, of like he's not controlled opposition, but he's also an evil world mob boss, but he played ball with all the other mob bosses and then he went against them, and now we're seeing a war of the mob bosses. That could also be a theory. But one of the things I read on Twitter is how you guys are all falling for it again. This was all a show, nothing happened, and now Trump experiences nothing but gets to be revered by you all as a hero blindly once again, and you've all been duped by the show. Could be. And that being the case, let's say it is a show, because I've been halfway out the door. The only reason I'm voting for the guy is because if I had my will, I'd vote for Tulsi Gabbard, and she tells me I should be voting for Donald Trump. If I had my will, I'd vote for RFK Jr., and he tells me to vote for Donald Trump. So of the people that I find pertinent in the political realm that I would look for guidance and leadership, they have my vote, and they've redirected it to the guy that I reluctantly will be voting for. That all being said, when you look at this guy and you're halfway out the door, pointing out all of these instances where he could be a psyop, he could be playing us. But here's one thing that is for sure, regardless of that. The state is against us, the people. That is a fact. Couldn't be clearer. And either he is an actor within their charade and he's also against us, or he's being hunted by that same entity and he's on our side. Regardless of the fact that he's on our side or he isn't, we know who the heart of our adversity is. Our antagonist, our problem is not our neighbor, isn't people that look different than us, that associate with different ideologies. It is the powers that be that will do anything they can not to give that up. And so I only leave it with, we could get lost in the weeds forever having fun theoretical conversations about what could be or what we are experiencing, because so much of this is lost in the know. It's fake news, lost realities, half of it's AI. Regardless of the fun theory, one thing that can be boiled down, distilled to truth. We're facing something. We are adverse to something, and it is not us. We are not being adverse to ourselves. That is how I'm just going to leave my thought with that. What's your wrapping thought?
Most people that get assassinated or attempted assassination, there's
three.
Yeah, there's a few. It doesn't necessarily mean like politicians, but there's also like figures, like MLK. There's a couple of them. For the most part, I think history has always looked fairly fondly of them. Not quite everyone 100% all the time, but they keep trying to kill the guy, and they keep going after him. So there's got to be something here where which side of history is this going to land on? Like, all right, hey, let's say he becomes president, and all of a sudden, are we going to just go downhill now? And like, well, shit.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
With the question, which side of history will this fall on? The answer will have no bearing on the truth. It will have no bearing on the truth, and it will have total bearing on who wins this social war.
Yeah.
History is always told by the victors.
Yeah. But is the, are we talking about like the culture war? Is that necessarily going to be won or lost by a presidential candidate? I don't think so. I think it's downstream, way downstream of that. But is, policies, there's a certain type of ethos of leadership that we are going to miss or wish we missed on this, like, just, miss shot of history, really. And I'm not 100% sure where exactly this is going to land for us here. It's unfortunate this just keeps happening, and I think I'm still of the opinion this is going to continue. If he gets elected again, this is gonna be almost a yearly thing where we got a comment.
Well, real quick, I want to just
what's the
address
comment?
Steve Stack's comment here. The Taylor Swift endorsement will hurt Trump, but I still think he wins. I think if it's fair, he wins, but I don't know if he'll be able to rise above the manipulation and intervention. But there's something I listened to an interesting point last night about the Taylor Swift point. Okay. Somebody was saying how one of the TikTokers was explaining, I've got 200,000 followers and I received an email to receive $30,000 to make a TikTok endorsing Kamala and pushing my followers to vote for her. 30 grand. That's how their money or our money's being spent.
Dang.
But if a TikToker with a following of 200,000 is getting 30 grand, what do you think Taylor Swift was paid for that endorsement? She didn't hold out because she didn't know who she was voting for. She held out because she knew the value of that, and she wasn't doing it without getting paid.
Yeah, I don't know if your average Taylor Swift fan was going to vote Trump anyway.
Right.
I keep hearing this point, like, well, they're going to come out in droves and now vote. I thought they were doing that for Hillary. That maybe they didn't quite do it for Biden. I don't know. That might be somewhat fair to say.
Hold on. I don't mean to cut you off, but seriously, I actually do feel shame. I do feel shame in a certain respect because I was sincerely about to leave this conversation without addressing two of the most important pictures. For some reason, I don't have them here in the file. All right, finish your thought. We have to address these two pictures. I'm putting them on the computer here now.
I still don't believe that the Taylor Swift voter is necessarily going to swing the election one way or another. I still think most of your Taylor Swift voters were already voting Kamala Harris, and there were probably most of them registered, Democrat voters. So do you get, is it, I don't know, you get an extra 100,000 in like California, New York, Colorado, some of these other, probably more blue states anyway, is your average Midwestern suburban mom who's really on the fence waiting for Taylor Swift to say, hey, go out and vote for this person. I don't think so. I'm not buying it.
All right. Speaking of the fishiest things we could possibly be addressing today.
All right.
Okay. I'm most ashamed that I almost left this dialogue without presenting the audience that's followed us this long with probably the craziest piece of this freaking thing. I'm shocked they didn't have this ready. So Steve, Millette, Gladiator, Think Inc., all the folks that are hanging with us, there is a virtue in staying to the end. And it's this, I promise you, will be the craziest piece ever. All right, I'm going to bring in Ricky. I'm bringing in Silent. I want the whole gang to see this. I want their reactions on here with me. All right, so here's the first picture, okay? Here is Vladimir Zelensky, president of Ukraine. I'm sure none of you are familiar with the gentleman next to him, so I'd love to inform you. Okay. The gentleman standing next to President Zelensky there, his name is Jose Andres. Interesting cat. He's actually the chef for Biden and Harris. He's the White House chef right now. And while this is an interesting picture, I'd love even more so for someone to take that picture and explain it in comparison to this one. Silence face. Yeah, what the hell's with this?
Okay.
What is with this? What is with this?
Are you saying the butler did it?
Hold on, this is not Photoshop and like turned the other way. This is like inverted and Photoshop.
Yeah, I was about to say this looks a little bit fishy. It looks kind of Photoshopped a little bit.
So There's a whole dialogue. You can go down the line of how this guy has been. One, this is Jose Andres. It's been confirmed. And that the picture has also been confirmed. But I'd also like to kind of walk lightly down the road of who this guy is. Who's Jose Andres? When he speaks, Washington listens. President Biden's condolence to Jose Andres after the Israeli strikes killed 7 of his aid workers delivering food in Gaza. Why it matters? When Andres speaks, Washington listens. The 54-year-old Spanish-born chef who became U.S. citizen in 2013 has long propelled the city's elite to rethink their assumptions about food. Now he's demanding they focus their attention on the Palestine civilians in the Gaza. That all being said, why is the White House chef, who has apparently significant influence in Washington, with okay, so I appreciate the folks that I'm doing the show with. They don't get sold on the first glance of the internet, and they think that there's some fishiness with this photo. Let's keep the dialogue open. If there's some fishiness with the photo, then it's moot and we just move on, right? And it's just another internet conspiracy. But in a world where the Biden-Harris chef, somebody intimately involved in the administration, because again, he's huge on the Ukraine war and obviously the Israeli-Palestinian war, he has support for the efforts. Why is it not peculiar that this cat is taking on a role such as this? Or is keeping in his circle of someone like this? Like, I don't accidentally have a picture with Thomas Crooks. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, if this picture is real and not photoshopped, it's just that curve behind his head is kind of throwing me off. That blurred line behind his head, it looks like it's like a cut and someone kind of like put it in there, you know?
Ain't no way this is real, bro. Ain't no way.
I don't know, man. A lot of people are reporting on it.
If it is,
like he's on the back of the guy, like
it's right here. It's on his shoulder.
Is it on his shoulder?
See it right? You see the fingers on?
Yeah.
It's literally on.
He's got like
a weird color thing. I don't know. I'm not. It just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Looks a little
potentially.
I
also
again,
think
he wears that sweater every time. That's the vest he wears everywhere he goes.
Like too many people. What?
Is that the vest he wears everywhere he goes? Like that.
Well, I'm sure that's his style. He thinks he's Indiana Jones. He's out here like, you know.
I'm pretty gullible, but this ain't it. This one ain't it. I don't believe this one. This ain't it.
I don't know, man. It's being heavily reported. So that all being said.
Oh, hold on. And also, if you go back to that, his hips fall off to the trees. Like his hips fall off to green brushes. Look at the guy in the vest. Hips disappears to green brushes.
Yeah,
those are all mini Ukraine flags. And I think what you're experiencing is the distorted line. Like, these aren't sharp colored lines because you're seeing a image that's been screenshotted and shared across the internet probably tons of times, right? So
where was this originally posted? Would be probably the first thing. Like, if they actually, like, one of the two acknowledged one of the other in a post, like, oh, I met the White House chef in this Ukraine rally. Okay, all right, that's pretty legitimate. But I'm not. I've not seen this one. So I'm not 100% sure. It just looks like an odd picture. Like the other one with him and Zelensky, that looks like a real photo. That looks, everything there makes sense. And also it just makes sense too that he would be, you know, Zelensky went to, like, I don't know, the White House or something. And, you know, obviously the White House chef would be there. Or
dude, the lines are just as blurred.
I don't know. It looks,
yes, it is the same colored sharpness. Like, here's my thing. And I agree with you that you can't take everything totally at face value. But at the same time, you should take a little salt, you know, a little grain of doubt. But you should take that piece of evidence in line with the fact that this is the second BlackRock commercial, in line with the fact that MSNBC was at the frickin' golf course for whatever damn reason. I mean, here's my point. You wouldn't if I showed you a picture of Kamala Harris's chef and Joe Biden's chef with Vladimir Zelensky, there wouldn't be a second ounce of doubt in your head. You just go, yeah, of course it's a picture with him and Zelensky. But the second it's something that should shatter your whole reality and make you rethink the way you evaluate all information. Oh, well, fuck that. It's got to be AI. Yeah, it's obviously AI. Just throw it away. Just throw it away. And we're not going to balance that with all of the 7 other peculiar reasons I should really give the whole subject a side eye. You guys were jumping. What are you thinking?
Whose chef is it? Whose chef is that supposed to be?
The Biden-Harris administration chef.
Yeah, the White House chef.
White House chef.
I'm sorry, that was Nalette in the background.
I appreciate it.
But
I still think that photo with Zelensky looks photoshopped too. If you look at Zelensky's finger, it looks very like kind of AI / blurry. If you look at the finger, look at Zelensky's finger, right? Look how it's like a little blurry and how like his hand curves. You see that curve? Right there?
That picture is way more gullible than the other picture with this perfect building, this perfect and then the blend of buildings to like the colors to buildings
the colors are off too, yeah.
From buildings to like another building to like green. It doesn't matter about the shade, Alex. Forget about the shade. There is a line of like buildings, and then it fades color into the mid backdrop. Then it fades back color to the green backdrop where they're at.
The area the area I would acknowledge is a little weird is right in here.
All that middle,
here, right? Like
all that middle.
Yeah, and
then the house on the right.
The line behind his head. There's like a weird line behind his head,
like
where the building kind of just,
this ain't we ain't going into diagnosing the photos, but like. Man, I need a video because anywhere there's taking pictures nowadays, there's a little clip of someone taking a video. That's what I'm saying. I need to verify everything by videos and like I don't know.
Maybe the Twitter community, maybe the Twitter community notes would put a note that it's AI,
and it didn't. And it didn't. So that's what made me even more intrigued. Is all of the community notes were about how articles about how he's Chef Jose Andres and how he has influence within the state's president's council for sports, fitness, and nutrition since 2022. Just interesting things to keep in mind as we walk this lonely road. Doug, do you have any wrapping thoughts as we close out the topic?
I do not.
Here we go.
Classic Doug. Doug's got to be in a hurry because he's afraid of planes. That all being said, guys, we go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. So be sure to join us each week. I want to say a shout out and thank you to everybody that joined us, like Steve Sachs and Nalette and we've got the Gladiator and Think Inc. and everybody else, because the whole purpose of the live show is to get you involved. So I want to appreciate everybody that took the time to get involved and add another element to the dialogue because you keep our perspective honest. That being said, the Pickle Gallery, Silent, tell the folks where they can find you.
Kick.com/Silent Destroyer. We are live every single day.
I love that. I love that. And Ricky, how about yourself?
Just another day TV everywhere, man. We outside.
That being said, guys, we go live each week. You can find all of our content. Monday, I can't be more excited. The new chapter, the Rethink Tank podcast comes out. So we got a whole new season of episodes with some really great guests. So be sure to be looking out for that. That comes out Monday. We've got our live shows on Sunday. So be sure to join us for the Reactions channel. Have a cup of coffee with us. Wake up and have some laughs. But then also at the crack of dawn, noon Eastern time, we kick off your Sundays with the Sunday Football Review. Oh yeah, the new hot ticket. And that can be found every Sunday as well at noon. But if you're looking where you can find all all this great content, you can find it at one central place, and that's at our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. So be sure to go there. Don't miss us. We'll catch you next.